A 68-year-old man took 10 drops of colloidal silver under his tongue every morning to protect his immune system, and after 2 years his face had turned the permanent slate blue-gray color of the metal he was swallowing. If real medical cases like this one pull you in, take a second and subscribe. It's a free way to keep these breakdowns coming, and it means a lot. Now, the kitchen. Dawn. The light is still gray through the window, and he's sitting at the table the way he sits every single morning. There's a small brown dropper bottle in his hand. He tips it, counts to 10 under his tongue, and swallows. He believes, truly believes, that these drops are guarding him, keeping the colds away, keeping him strong for the grandkids. And then his granddaughter runs in for a hug. She stops. Halfway into his arms, she looks up at his face and asks why Grandpa looks gray. He laughs it off. But he catches himself in the hallway mirror on the way out, and the laugh dies. Let's slow down and meet him properly. Picture a man with shoulder-length light brown hair, warm hazel eyes, a friendly, approachable face with soft laugh lines around the eyes. Average build, a plain everyday top, the kind of grandfather you'd trust to hold the ladder. A few days after that hug, he presented to his doctor, we'll call him HG. A 68-year-old man, we'll call HG, presented with a slate blue-gray face, blue-tinged gums, and darkening skin around his fingernails. Not a bruise, not a shadow from the lighting, a steady, even metallic gray, worst across his cheeks and his hands, spreading up into his gums like ink under the surface. The word for this is argyria. Break it apart and it comes straight from the Greek. Argyros, meaning silver. The very name of the condition tells you the diagnosis. His skin was turning the color of the metal he swallowed. Drop by drop, morning by morning, he had been quietly tinting himself from the inside. Here's the part that makes your stomach turn. Look at your own hands for a second. Now imagine the color slowly changing over months, over years, and feeling absolutely nothing at all, because that was HG. He felt fine, genuinely fine. No pain, no fever, no fatigue, no cough, no dizziness, no warning bell of any kind. His appetite was good. He slept well. Every way a body normally tells you something is wrong, his body stayed silent. The only thing that kept confirming the change was the mirror. And that silence is what frightened everyone. A symptom with no symptoms. A man discoloring from within, walking, talking, laughing, while his skin drifted toward the color of an old coin. How did he get here? The habit was almost boring. A shelf in a health store, a bottle promising natural immune support. 10 drops a day for 2 years. And when cold season came around, he doubled it to 20. Because in his mind, if a little helped, more had to help more. Hold on to that idea. More is not better. It's going to matter more than he ever imagined. At the clinic, the team moved quickly. This is not a color you shrug off. They drew blood. They checked his heart. They listened to his lungs. Because a face that shade could mean the body isn't carrying oxygen, and that can kill in minutes. The doctors ran the blood work and came back with one piece of good news. The color was not spreading to his organs in any dangerous way. For a moment, the whole family exhaled, but that relief was about to collapse, because the color would not fade. And that left a much harder question hanging in the room. If it isn't poisoning him, then what exactly is staining him? And why won't it wash out? The good news held for only a moment. The silver was not attacking his organs, and the blood work came back clean. His heart and lungs checked out. The family exhaled. Nobody was in danger of dying. And then the harder truth landed. The color would not fade. That is what turned relief into a colder question. If it isn't poisoning him, what exactly is staining him from the inside? To understand what was happening, the doctors had to rule things out, one by one. But first, the backstory arrived as the most ordinary detail you can imagine. A health store shelf. A small bottle promising natural protection. He had started with 10 drops a day, under the tongue, every morning for 2 years. Then cold season came, and he doubled it, 20 drops. Because if a little helped, more must help more. Sit with that logic for a second, because more is not better. The body does not always reward you for doubling the dose. Sometimes it just keeps everything you give it. Now, back to the detective work. The doctors lined up the suspects. First suspect, cyanosis. That is the blue tint you get when the blood cannot carry enough oxygen. Lips go dusky, fingertips go blue. It looked like a match. But cyanosis shows up fast, in seconds to minutes, because it is a plumbing problem, a vascular problem. And here's a trick doctors use. How fast a symptom appears tells you what caused it. Keep that in mind. Seconds usually means blood and vessels. Days to weeks usually means inflammation. Years usually means something is slowly piling up. So they checked. His oxygen levels were normal, right there on the pulse oximeter. And when they pressed a fingertip into his gray skin, it briefly blanched pink, then the gray crept back. Real cyanosis does not do that cleanly. Cyanosis dismissed. Second suspect. Methemoglobinemia. Break the word apart. Met meaning changed, hemo meaning blood, and emia meaning a condition in the blood. It means the blood has been chemically altered so it can no longer hold oxygen properly, usually by a drug or a toxin. That fits the inflammation timescale, days to weeks. It can turn skin a slaty blue, another good guess. But it leaves a fingerprint in a blood gas test, and his blood gas came back clean. Methemoglobinemia dismissed. Third suspect. A heart defect. A hole between the chambers, a shunt, quietly pushing blue, oxygen-poor blood into the wrong side and out to the skin. It happens. So they imaged his chest, slid the scan onto the light box, and looked. His heart was structurally fine. No shunt. Dismissed. Fourth suspect. A drug. Certain long-term medications stain the skin. Minocycline, an antibiotic, is famous for it. Take it for years and it can leave gray-blue patches. That matched the slow timeline perfectly. So they pulled his medication list and read every line. He wasn't on minocycline. He wasn't on anything that does this. Dismissed. 4 suspects, 4 crossed off the whiteboard. And notice what just happened. Everything on the fast end of the clock fell away. Everything on the inflammation end fell away. What was left had to be slow. Years slow. Something that accumulates, particle by particle, in tissue that does not shed and cannot flush it out. And if you already suspect the little bottle from the health store, you are thinking like the doctors did. Because only one thing fit that years-long timescale. The silver he had swallowed. 10 drops, then 20, every single day for 2 years. The body has no pathway to remove silver. No enzyme breaks it down. No organ carries it out. So it just stayed, lodging deeper and deeper in his skin, one dropperful at a time. Silver. That was the culprit. But knowing it was silver did not explain the strangest clue of all. Why had his face and his hand cord his darkest, while the skin under his clothes stayed lighter? The metal was everywhere in him, evenly. So why was the color following the sunlight? The answer was a chemical reaction that had been quietly turning his skin into photographic film, developed a little more with every walk in the sun. His face and hands had turned the darkest because his skin had quietly become photographic film, and daylight kept developing it. Here, the science opens up. Swallowed silver particles dissolve into silver ions. Those ions travel through the blood and settle in the deep layers of the skin, the sweat glands, and the gums. And when sunlight lands on them, a chemical reaction converts the silver into 2 dark compounds, silver sulfide and silver selenide. It's the same kind of reaction that develops a photograph. Think about that. His skin was a photograph, and the sun was the darkroom. And here's the part that should give you chills. This is not new. This is not rare. Doctors have watched it happen for well over 100 years. In 1901, physicians already wrote about blue-skinned patients, workers who handled silver salts day after day in factories and workshops. Same slate color, same slow arrival, same permanence. The medicine of the case was already old when H.G. tipped his first drop under his tongue. So the mechanism was elegant and it was brutal. Silver ions lodge in tissue that your body does not shed. Your skin sheds its surface, sure. But the deep dermis, the sweat glands, the gums, those stay, so the metal stays. And sunlight only makes it worse, converting more silver to those dark compounds with every hour outdoors. That is why the skin under his shirt stayed lighter, while his face and hands, the parts that met the sun, went darkest. Not a curse. Just chemistry running on a timescale of years. Back in the hospital, H.G.'s condition finally had a name doctors could prove. They took a small skin biopsy, a tiny plug of tissue, and put it under the microscope. There they were. Silver granules. Real, Physical specks of metal, embedded in the dermis, scattered through the tissue like grains of dark sand. Not a theory anymore. You could see the silver he swallowed sitting in his skin. The diagnosis was confirmed, argyria, and with confirmation came the hardest conversation. The doctors were gentle, but they were honest. There's no reliable cure. For a few patients, laser treatments can fade the color partially, breaking up some of the granules the way a laser lifts a tattoo. Some improvement for some people, but for most, the gray-blue is permanent. It does not fade with time, it does not wash out, it does not heal, because there's nothing broken to heal. The silver is simply there, and your body has no tool to carry it away. That is the answer to the question that had been hanging over this whole case. Can the color come back? No, not really. Not for him. So what happened to HG? He stopped the drops that same day. He never took another dose. He started wearing a wide-brimmed hat and long sleeves outdoors, keeping the sun off the skin that had already been stained. And then he did something quietly remarkable. He went on living, healthy. His heart was fine, his lungs were fine, his blood work was fine. Every measurable number said he was well. The silver had never poisoned his organs the way lead or mercury would. It had only colored him. He is, to this day, a healthy man, just a permanently gray one. And that's the lesson worth carrying out of this. Natural does not mean harmless. A thing can come from the earth, sit on a health store shelf, promise protection, and still change you forever. More is not better. His slide from 10 drops to 20 was the whole tragedy in miniature, because if a little helped, surely more would help more. It did not. It just gave his body more silver to keep. And that is the cruel simplicity of it. The body has no way to remove silver. It keeps every particle you ever give it. So next time a bottle promises to boost your immune system, ask it one question. Why? Ask how it works. Ask what it does inside you. Read the label and read past the word natural, because a healthy immune system rarely comes in a dropper bottle. And that's the story of how a grandfather's daily silver drops turned his skin permanently gray. This has been a medical case study.